What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Knothole Gang. We're at the top of the Mickey and Friends parking structure, looking at the backside of Galaxy's Edge, and that is the Battle Escape building as usual. And we're going to open with our usual shot here. Not going to be a lot to see here, I don't think. What am I looking for? Oh, I'm looking to see if there's any update on that steelwork that's going on the outside of the queue. We're going to see that this area, that framework for more mountainside and mesh, is going to connect, I believe, with this part of the queue. There you can see the framework there as well. Not yet, but I do believe it will connect. Now, let's zoom in on, this is that rock work, the cliff sort of overhang section. We'll compare that to 2 weeks ago, and there's a little bit of updating there, but not a lot. But it's progressing. It's getting fuller, more fleshed out. And I think we're going to take a quick look in a little bit, but I don't think we're going to find anything new on this visit for this piece of rock work. And this might be our last look for a while at this section of the exterior queue that's going to be caved. Nothing has happened here for weeks. I look back and it looks identical to how it did 2 weeks ago. So we'll probably be leaving this area for a little while, focusing on the tops of the Battle Escape building and the rockwork facing us as we view Main Street. But I mean the Rivers of America, I should say. But we are going to pan across the top of the Battle Escape roof here, and then pause because I want to compare that meshwork. Here we are. This was 4 weeks ago, so you can see that they have come a long way on that. There was just steel work there, and now we've advanced to a lot of mesh over that steelwork, and that's from 4 weeks ago. And you can also see that the peak to the right has received some texture coating where it was just meshwork before. Moving on. It's just fascinating to watch the progress of the top of this building, where I thought we were going to see nothing forever, has become almost the focal point of our reports these days, is all the work happening on top of the buildings. Moving over to the Millennium Falcon side, we're just here to take a look at the peaks, as there's not a lot of progress going on in the forced perspective rockwork behind those peaks. But one of the things that we noticed but didn't speak about last week, and is even more clear today, is look, there's no platforms for the constructionizers to constructionize on. Are they done with the Millennium Falcon peaks? I mean, is that the final product right there? Why they see? You can see the platforms. I think those are platforms on that peak still. So should we assume that that's the final color, or will they put the platforms back and add more texture or more paint later? Interesting development there. And you can see again, like I said, the steelwork is just getting fuller, but they haven't applied any meshwork, which is odd considering it looked like they started that one sooner than the other rockwork formations that are on Battle Escape building, but those are already getting mesh, and in some cases you're seeing texture applied, as we'll see on the Rivers of America in a little bit. And then we'll do a pan from the left to right, and we're going to make a couple stops here. Most of our focus is going to be on 4 weeks ago and these peaks. I mean the meshwork and the formations happening on the roof line. Here's a new development. We kind of noticed this last week, I think, but it's when you compare it to 4 weeks ago, you can really see it. And there you can kind of see, it's beginning, but it's getting a lot more work there, and it's a lot more visible today or on this day than it was a few weeks ago. Moving on. I don't know why I stopped there. I think there's just a lone spire there. One lonely piece of steel being erected. And now this is another interesting development. We'll compare this again to 4 weeks ago. I mean, what? There's nothing there. That is literally the same shot. You could, I mean, the placement of the buildings. I had to double check this myself. I really had to double check this. 4 weeks ago, there was nothing, at least in view. There might have been some steel work being applied to the front of those two warts that we couldn't see them doing, but there was nothing there. And now we've got steel, and this is what I'm talking about. These have mesh work being applied already and still no meshwork over there on the Millennium Falcon spire. So that's quick progress being made in that section. And we'll move on. Camera's all over the place here, sorry. All right, before we head to the Rivers of America, I wanted to show you this shot I got from the Disneyland Railroad. We were just cruising along, having a normal ride, and I found, or I saw them carrying something, so I did a quick pre-zoom, and here we'll find it in a second. The focus has to get set first. It's still looking at those trees, but what is that? That's kind of like the shot that Jensen 55 got of the very obvious Millennium Falcon parts. So I would imagine this is Millennium Falcon. Also, it's in the same exact kind of container that the Jensen's shot had. So I'm assuming that's what this is as well. And you can see there's a curved nature to these pieces as well. So work is happening. They're building a ride, you guys. They're building a ride. It's no longer just it's no longer just a building. It's now a ride. It's becoming a ride. Woo! All right, let's move on. So, we're back on the Rivers of America, and Ian's head right there in the lower left corner. We're gonna, I think, in like 10 seconds, we're gonna stop and look again at 4 weeks ago, because there's progress here. We don't often do a comparison, so let's stop here. That is today, and then let's look at 4 weeks ago. You can see most of the progress you'll see is going to be on the left, where they've added meshwork to those to that steel that was kind of naked at the moment, and then additional meshwork is now. I mean, they're almost getting to the point where they're adding texture. I think we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to see a guy finishing up the meshwork, and then finally, you can see that they built that peak is starting on the left of frame, where there was none before. So let's move on. And I think, if memory serves, we're going to spot some constructionizers constructionizing, which is always fun.
As we head into the remote areas of
There they are.
America, you're in for a real treat.
This is the guy right here. He's a welder, putting in some finishing touches on adding some meshwork, I would imagine. Next week, we're going to see texture, I think. You can see there already is some, right? I think I can sort of see some. They filled in the gaps a little bit. It's different than the meshwork behind him. If you'll notice that peak that they're building right there, that's a little more translucent than where they were, which is cool. And I'm going to take one last shot. What am I doing here? I'm trying to find that hull, the Starship hull, which, I mean, obviously we're not going to see much happening there, so that might be the last time we look at this as well. All right, moving on down the river. Back with the guys working on the mesh. Man, it's so amazing. There's a mountain. They're building a mountain. Now here's an interesting look. This is an area that I've been focusing on because we can see a building there. And if we pause here, I want to look at 4 weeks ago again and compare to 4 weeks ago. I mean, it's not a lot, but it is something. What we're seeing there, we're seeing more from the river now because things are being built up. You could barely see the top of that building 4 weeks ago, and now we've got that building, and the whole building itself is being fleshed out more. Plus, additional, vertical structures are coming up. I'm not positive, or I can't tell for sure if that's going to be a building or if that's peaks, but it's coming along quickly, and it suggests that as we keep going. It suggests that they may want to eventually put in some more trees. We can't wait for those trees to mature because that'll take, I don't know, 20 years for that to happen. I think they're going to have to fill in those gaps, right? They're going to have to fill in those gaps. I'm surprised they haven't, to be honest. Maybe they just want us to have a look for a while. And then I was going to try to get a shot of more of that, but then this guy showed up, which is really just the best way to see the train. We're on the back side of the Mark Twain right now, not the front, and we're meeting the train at the same time as we're at the the back side of the river, which is just the funnest way to catch the train going by. There were so many wavers. They were just they were having a good old time watching the Mark Twain go by. It's a mutual love. When you're on the train, you love seeing the Mark Twain go by, and when you're on the Mark Twain, you love seeing the train go by. It's a mutual thing. So much for Star Wars Land update from this angle. Train trumps that. And we'll get back to work. Just looking to see what we can see through the trees, etc. Things are becoming more visible these days than they ever were through those trees, which is fun for me. Trying to find the pyramid again. I've stopped looking for a pyramid in the concept art and in the model. Best guess is that that's gonna become more of an oval type roof as they add more to it later on.
They took out on the Millennium Falcon Peaks, they took out the platforms. Yeah. It's just the scaffolding's there, but not the things you can walk on.
That. All right, and our last comparison will be when we change our view to look at the Battle Escape building again. As we pan to the left, we'll stop right about here and compare this to 4 weeks ago. And you can see that they filled in quite a bit on the very front of that. There's a lot more. The left side is starting to get texture, whereas it was just mesh before. The right side is coming along tremendously to the point where they may be nearly done. If that texture and color is similar to the texture and color we're seeing from the Millennium Falcon peaks, where they've taken out the platforms for the construction workers to walk on. That looks about the same to me. And we'll wrap up here. Now we got our trip was pretty early that morning. So our little cutaway shot as we pull out on the Mark Twain will not have any canoes, unfortunately, and very few guests on Tom Sawyer's Island because it's so early. It was like 9:30 that morning. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Fresh baked. We've got lots more videos for you to see, so grab a churro and check out some of our other videos and have your mind blown by how much fun we're having. We truly are the best of Disney Bake Fresh Daily. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Fresh Baked!